Good afternoon and a very warm welcome here to Windsor Park for this afternoon's Matchday Live, brought to you in partnership with our official sponsor, Bet McLean. Just like to take this opportunity to welcome our two guests on the show this afternoon. Firstly, we have David Jeffrey. David, thanks very much for coming on.
Pleasure, thank you for having me, Stuart.
And again, Matthew Tipton back for a second week, so obviously we didn't annoy you too much last week.
No, thanks for having me back. This is the most consecutive appearance I've had at Windsor Park, even as a player, so delighted to be back.
Yeah, just before we get started, we'd just like to let everybody know of the special offer that Bet McLean have going, which is the Blues Boost, which is Joel Cooper to score first goal. It should be 10-3, but it's now 5-1 with Bet McLean bookmakers. And just remember that it's strictly 18 and over and bet responsibly. Just like to take this opportunity as well to welcome and thank our match sponsor for this afternoon's game, who is First Newton Abbey Linfield Supporters Club. Our ball sponsor, who is Norman Morrow and Co Estate Agents. You can find them on normanmorrow.co.uk. And our programme sponsor, who is Lisburn First Blue Linfield Supporters Club. Tickets for their 75th anniversary dinner are available now through their Facebook page. And I believe David Jeffrey?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it very much indeed. I was kindly invited to join First Lisburn on such a momentous occasion. I remember as a player and as a manager having some wonderful evenings. So very much looking forward to joining with First Lisburn and celebrating 75 wonderful years of supporting Linfield Football Club.
And how are you finding yourself out of football?
Supporter.
You get to relax a wee bit more now watching?
I'm not sure about relaxing. I think the one thing, you're not accountable. So on a Saturday night, if the result doesn't go the way we would want it to go, then I'm not to blame, for everyone else having a bad night.
Okay, so let's get started then. We'll take a look back at the results from last week. Is there anything really stands out then from the midweek games there on Tuesday night?
Well, I think Crusaders have done well. That they've started the season with two away games, obviously with the Lion game being called off, and to get 2 1-0 victories. Declan's obviously new in management. I don't think Europe went as well as what he would have wanted, but they've started off the season really well. Kieran offered 2 goals, 2 games, and I thought his diving header on Tuesday night was tremendous.
For me, it was the Linfield game away to Glenavon. I've actually been able to see all 3 games. The first one away to Ballymena, I was working for the BBC. The second one, I was here against Dungannon Swifts, and then I watched the live stream on Wednesday night. And I think, we got incrementally better in each of those games. I thought we were absolutely stand out. Also, as well, probably the Loughgall Portadown game. I was really interested to see how that would go. A Mid-Ulster derby. And by all accounts, it was a fantastic, cracking game. So those were the standouts. And yes, Declan, has done tremendously well at Crusaders. He's gone in as a rookie manager. Yep. Two tough away games, but 2 clean sheets, 6 points on the board. Who says he's a rookie?
We'll take a wee look at the match day table as well. Obviously, last night's game won't be included in it. But so early on in the season, I take it is it really reluctant to look at the position so far?
To be brutally honest with you, Stuart, it's irrelevant, in terms of the table. You simply take one game at a time. You look to get maximum points. You obviously want to avoid the defeat. It's around Christmas before you really seriously have a look where positions are at. And that's, yes, you look on it week to week because it's nice to see you're at the top. Obviously, that's aesthetically.
Well, you were up at the top more than I was as a manager, David.
Aesthetically, it's nice, but in terms of being, really something that you take notice of, it's in around Christmas stroke New Year.
We've got the highlights now from the Dungannon and the Glenavon game. Last week, Dungannon, it was really won in 3 goals inside 8 minutes. What's your thoughts on that?
It was a devastating 8 minutes because I was, in coming to the game, I thought, I wanted to make sure that, there wasn't a repeat of last year. When I've got to say, Dungannon were absolutely excellent. and played tremendously well here. But it really did damage to sort of our push for the title. I thought last Saturday we were so complete, but that 8-minute spell, up until then, to be very fair, Donegal or Dungannon Swifts were very much part and parcel of the game. They looked very impressive. They knocked the ball about. They looked very comfortable. A typical Rodney Macquarie team, very, very good on the ball. But those 8 minutes Linfield were just dynamite, and the goals as well were absolutely superb.
Then the Glenavon game on Tuesday night got off to the perfect start.
We couldn't get off to it.
Joel Cooper scoring after 2 minutes.
Well, that's the start you want, because I think, as David touched on the Dungannon game, it was flat for 20 minutes, not really many goal-scoring opportunities. Then the 8 minutes, and then to go away at Glenavon, they got that and knocked the stuffing out of Glenavon early. In my opinion, watched the game then, like David was watching on the TV, and I thought Linfield were in complete control of the game. And even after half-time, I read David Healy's quote this morning saying he thought they were disappointed in the second half. I felt they didn't need to do anything more than what they did. I felt they were in cruise control, and they just seen out the game brilliantly.
I can understand why David would have those sentiments, because as a manager you want
to win 6 and 7.
Yes, you want the highest of high standards. But the bottom line was, regardless of how individual,
making sure obviously you don't pick up any injuries.
That's exactly it, Stuart. The bottom line is, if
7 goals scored, only 1 conceded. I'm sure he's ecstatic with that.
Well, yeah, what I would say, I suppose, if you're looking at it, and we were talking about the league table, and whilst not looking at it, I think this is the time to set the market. We know Larne aren't going to play, right? Linfield have played 5 games. This time next week, they'll have played 5 games, or 2 weeks' time. They need to be 15 points clear. Let's make no bones about that, right? And this is the time to capitalise and get the points on the board. You can look at the league table all you want. What I would be more looking at is if you're 15, 5 games to play, we all know how difficult it is when you're chasing a team, right? 15 points massive, and I'm not taking Cliftonville and Crusaders out there. Let's be honest, true and right here, we're here talking about Linfield Football Club. Linfield Football Club is the only priority for this football club. They don't care what anybody else has done. Get the 15 points on the board, and like I say, it's not being disrespectful today to Loughgall and to Portadown next Friday. If you look at the 5 fixtures, they should be 15 points on the board.
They should be, Matthew, and I get that totally, particularly with our full-time status and all of those things. But on any given day, anything.
Oh, we know that.
Anything can happen. So vitally important, that the players will be listening, to David and to Ross and to George and to whoever else will be sent them. You've really got to be on it, because while there's an expectation that Linfield will win these games, these are the toughest games. Make no mistake, these are the toughest games, and I say with all respect, because the teams going in there, everyone is not expecting them to do anything, So the pressure in some ways is off them. So there's a greater pressure. I'll give you an example. I remember back when I left, here to go to Ards as a player, and in the weeks that leading up to, we were playing, say, Linfield or Glentour, and I saw average players become good players and good players become very good players. They changed their attitude totally. That hasn't changed, Stuart. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. That has not changed, and people will up their game. Linfield players have got to be up there all of the time, regardless of who the opposition are. So while it is reasonable to expect a return of 15 points, don't anybody think it's a given. The players have really got to be on it, and to be fair to them, I think they've been first class, as I say, from Ballymena, Dungannon Swifts, and then at Glenavon. Attitude, application, they have been very, very competent professionally, and certainly on track.
You mentioned players being up there. Tell us a little bit about Joel Cooper's form at the moment. He really is a man in form. I'm
absolutely delighted for Joel and with Joel. He very much, is his man. I've often said there's no such thing as a one-man team, but there is such a thing as one man can make a team. And I would put that mantle on Joel. He just does things, out of the blue. He can change a team, or change a game, in a flick of a switch. What has pleased me is that he started so well last year, absolutely phenomenal, and then he picked up, niggly injury, and by his own admission, his form was inconsistent. Prior to the injury, not only was he doing well in front of goal, defensively he became almost this complete footballer. He just wasn't, full of tricks and going past people and scoring goals and assists. Defensively, he was working his socks off for the team. He's got himself back to where he was this time last year, and let's hope that he avoid injury, because he is the person, alongside, I've got to say, Kirk Miller. because Kirk has made a massive contribution also. But Joel, it's a big weight on those shoulders, but he's someone who is up for the challenge, and if the wee man's on it, then we're all always likely to do well.
Matthew, and yourself?
No, look, he's been super the 3 games so far this year, and like David said, last year he started off exceptionally, and we all know he's had the ability. He went over to England, it didn't quite work out from there, but that, you know, that happens to players. It's a difficult move to make and to transition. You know, what I would touch on in terms of Joel's performances from what I've seen this year, Matthew Fitzpatrick's had a big help to that, right? Matthew hasn't had the goal return he wants so far, and everybody knows centre forwards are judged on goals regardless, right? But if you're a manager, David obviously was a defender and then a manager, if your striker's not scoring what you want from them, you want them to lead the line, you want them to run. And what I've liked seeing from him is his willingness to run off the ball, running beyond centre-halves. Centre-half, you didn't want to see your own goal, did you not? You want me coming here towards the ball, you can boot me up my hole, as you'd have said. Right? Once Matthew's running that way, it's creating space in behind him. And Joel's picking up the spaces brilliantly. He's dynamic on the ball. He can go past people we know, and his finishing's been top draw so far. There's not another player that you want to see within the Irish League that when the ball's dropping 20, 25 yards out and he's dropping that shoulder, he goes there and he comes inside his left foot, and it's like an arrow, isn't it? And it's in the bottom corner all of the time.
But it's a great point you make about Matthew, because you know, I'm a massive fan of him. You know, the best way to describe him is he's selfless.
Yes.
He does so much for the team. As I say, he can occupy back threes or back fours. You know, he's looking to take people on all of the time, and he's creating opportunities for other people. I would love him just one little bit, you know, because there are people, and I understand the criticism, because a goal scorer, and you will know better than anybody being a goal scorer supreme, they're looking at the centre forward, how many goals have you got? So his contribution to the team is brilliant. I just wish at times not just being selfless, but selfish on occasions. Get himself in the box a little bit earlier. Be on the receiving end. Just add that to your game. But for me, the contribution that Matthew has made from the start of the season has been measurable.
If I think, just before we go on to the next thing, if I think back to my time as a player, and obviously you, the manager, when Andy Wartworth came in, can you remember the running that Andy did? Like, he put us to shame, he put me to shame, certainly, right? And Andy became a goal scorer supreme. Yeah. As time went on, he got better and better, he scored more goals because Andy did less running. Yeah. Right? And people go, but he still worked hard, but he was clever in his movement and in his run, his closing down, right? And I used to say to Andy, obviously, there's no hiding the fact I was lazy. I didn't want to run wide. But I used to say to Andy, when the ball's wide, right, you've got good players, Kirk, Mellor, Joel, Cooper, these boys have the ball. What are you getting involved out there for? You need to be in and around the goal, because that's where goals happen, right? So what I would say for Matthew, see in the middle third and the defensive third, do all your running you want, right? But see when the ball gets to the final third, you have to be selfish, in your words then, right? Let everybody else do the work. And this goes for Chris McKee as well, because last week I watched Chris, and I've known Chris since, well, I was going to say this size, but he was this size when he was 10. And he was out here helping. Like, let's be honest, does Kirk Mellor need help to cross the ball? Ethan Gee, do these boys, you and East and Joel Cooper, see when them boys are wide, let them play, right? And if anybody needs to help them, let Chris Shields and Carl McLean go and help them, and you go and do what you're paid to do. And that's get yourself in the middle of the goal, and when the ball drops, you're there for the tapping. Last week, Carl McLean scored a brilliant goal, didn't he? I looked, where's the two centre forwards? Where's Chris McKee's out?
Mentioned Chris McKee there getting into the box. That's how he got his first goal against Ballymena.
That's the only place you get goals. There's no point telling me that you've ran 12k and you've helped out defensively, which I know he's done, and he's done it brilliantly, Chris, right? See him in possession of the ball, go and be a second centre forward or a centre forward, right? Call it whatever terminology you want in this day and age. And out of possession, yes, you can help your midfield and do your work off the ball there brilliantly, right? But see when your team's got the ball, be selfish and get yourself in the box, because you're Linfield centre forward here, right? And see the people here, they're brilliant supporters, but they're only looking. See at the end of the game where the team's run 3-0 to go, Matthew Fitzpatrick didn't score, Chris McKee didn't score. That's not the reason why the manager's picking them, but see eventually, you don't score, and if Kirk Mellor doesn't score, Joel Cooper doesn't score, Cam McLean doesn't score, that's when the pressure comes. That will come. That will come. You would hope so, if they keep doing the work, and but they've got to put themselves in them positions inside the penalty area for it to happen. I would love nothing more than Matthew or Chris to score a goal that I would have loved to score. Basically stand on the goal line and wait for the ball to come and just poke it over the line and run off celebrating, and everybody be delighted. No more so than me and David.
We all talk about sometimes yesteryears, and we talk about the work for the team. And I remember the work that Glenn Ferguson and Peter Thompson did. Absolutely remarkable, you know, what they did. And they did all of that, but they still got themselves primarily in the box to score. Well, I don't know how many goals they scored, but many goals, which won us many trophies.
The manager spoke there briefly last week about players coming back from injury. He said over the next couple of weeks there'll be a few players coming back to the squad. Just how much of a boost does that give to him, given the fact that last season we had so many injuries at times, and we had to maybe fill the team with kids?
This is an obvious one, Stuart and Matthew, and it's you and East. You know, I absolutely loved him. You know, when he came here, I know he came as a centre back. He can play left back. He can play left wing back. I just love. He's tenacious in the tackle. Technically, he's very good. There is no doubting the impact his absence had. On our side last year. There's just no doubt about it. To have him back and to have him back in the form so quickly, because after that injury, you may be thinking getting him right up to speed again. But when you and him on one side, Ethan on the other, Keith McGee, my goodness gracious me, it's absolutely frightening. But certainly, we're hoping that Robbie McDade will be back before too long. I think Ben Hall, we're hoping will be back before too long. To be doing well with the squad that you have as a manager, knowing that the reinforcements are coming around the corner is brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because the competition within the squad goes up another notch again, and then if you've got other players coming back, if there is a loss of form, or if there is injury, or there is suspension, then you have got adequate reinforcements.
The games will be coming thick and fast here with the County Antrim Shield just around the corner and the Bet McLean Cup as well.
Look, I look at Stevie Fallon, for a name that wasn't mentioned there. Right. You and East, David, I'll be honest, right, last year, the second half of the season, I kind of took a break from football. I didn't really watch as much, as what I would have done prior to that. And last week, I thought he was tremendous. As a left back, the left centre half predominantly, I watched at the beginning of the first half of the season, right? But ability, technical ability, crossing ability, he could have scored 2 or 3. It was the same at Glenavon on Tuesday night, and that was Joel Cooper got the rewards from it with the one that was blocked. So he's been brilliant. Stevie Fallon's a player that I've loved since whatever age, 16, 15, just before he went over to Swansea, came back. Tried to sign him on loan every transfer window I could from when he came back here. But he was a young cub, and I just was starting out at Warren Point, and I make no secret of the fact that I wanted to sign him on loan. Yes, you do. And so he's somebody coming in. Jamie Mulgrew hasn't been in the squad the last couple of games.
No.
And look, and it's all right saying we're talking about young fellas, but Jamie's still the massive experience. Let's be honest about this. If it's Glentoran next Saturday or today, is Jamie McGrew going to play alongside Chris Shields in midfield? I would say yes.
I'm going to give you an observation. I was down watching the pre-season game at Harlan Wolf Welders, and you maybe would have thought on that night, with not that many people there and everything else, that maybe Jamie would have strolled through the game, and he did not. And he gave out 2 or 3 absolute roastings, to players around him, in terms of them maybe not being up to scratch in terms of passing the ball quickly or doing things much more sharply. And I thought, fantastic, what an absolute example. Don't anybody thinking that he is winding down, not a chance in the world. I was truly blessed to be the manager when Jamie joined us from Glentoran, so I know him extraordinarily well. He is as competitive now, if not more so, that he was before. So to have that experience coming back, never mind, people talk about his experience, his ability. His ability on the ball. He's an outstanding player. We know that. So the injured players coming back will be reassuring and will be encouraging for David. There's no doubt about that.
Sorry, just before. So 19 years this week he made his debut, and the picture went up on social media. So
David, does that make you feel old?
Thank you, Stuart.
David, you were nearly my age when that was.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. If anyone is looking, if we can get the camera angle down, you probably can. I've got a really cool pair of trainers on here, which belie my age. So I'm desperately trying. 19 years ago.
19 years. So anyway, the picture went on social media. Obviously Linfield, and I commented Jamie had put something up, so I sent Jamie a message and I said, 19 years and you still haven't learned to use that left foot. It was, he's outside of the foot pass. Look, and unbelievable ability, and never uses his left foot. I don't think he ever headed it. Can you remember Jamie heading it?
I can never remember.
What a player.
What I can, and I'm not going to tell this story now. I have told this story a couple of times, but Jamie had a massive influence on my managerial career. And let's just say I learned that there was different ways in which you had to treat the modern day player. Jimmy was the first of those, and I will be ever grateful for the learning and the challenge that Jamie gave to me and provided for me.
Matthew, moving on to today's opposition in Loughgall, what sort of challenge will they bring to the Linfield side today?
A big one. let's be honest, they came up last year and I think everybody thought, oh, Loughgall, little Loughgall will come and they'll be straight back down, and they were tremendous. They took points off the top 6, which is a tough ask when you're in, towards your end of your time at Ballymena, and certainly I came up with Portadown, and that was what we found the biggest challenge. Coming to Windsor Park, even at home, you were scrapping to get a point, and they did ever so well, but you know what, they're set up in such a way that they're brilliant on the counter-attack. Yeah. So, coming here, we'll have no fear for them, and yes, Benji McGee's gone, but he hadn't started the season. He missed most of the pre-season through injury and one thing and another.
We're just looking there at his goal against Carrick.
Oh, it was a smasher, wasn't it? And that's what Benji's all about, his individual play. And look at the 2 goals here. But I think in Nathaniel Ferris, Ryan Wade, Alberto Valde, they've got players that can play on the counter-attack, and it will suit them. Windsor Park, the big wide open spaces, the way they play suits them.
The other thing about it as well, Matthew, is with respect, no one's coming with any great expectation from Loughgall. They're coming here to give of their very best, and if they get anything out of the game, they will be delighted. So there's no pressure or expectation. All of the pressure and expectation is in Linfield, understandably, and that's just the way.
So it should be,
So it should be. Yes, and we get that totally. But coming here, Dean will have no fear at all for Loughgall. Dean Smith has done an absolutely brilliant job. You've got to take your hat off to him. So it'll be a tough encounter. But if we can be incrementally better again, then there should be a Linfield victory.
What sort of threat do they pose then from set plays?
Well, I think if you look back, and I know we don't have them highlights there, but last week, 2 goals from set pieces. Jordan Gibson played for yourself up at Ballymena. Probably didn't go as well there as what you wanted or what he wanted, but he's gone back where he started. I know he didn't start there, but where he really started his kick on in his Irish League career at Loughgall in the Championship. He was certainly a player I would have come up against a few times, managing Portadown. He's 6'4".
Jordan is an incredible talent.
He's technically very good.
Technically unbelievable on the field. But if you look in set pieces, Nathaniel Ferris, they're aggressive. For me, when they're attacking set pieces, they're aggressive. When the ball's in the box, they're aiming to win it, and people think, surely everybody should do that. But we know that. Put it like this: see when corners are going in, you didn't see me attacking too many. David, yes, me, no. So not everybody goes to attack the ball to win it from attacking set pieces. But I look at them at set pieces, they look like they all want to get on the end of the ball, which is it's a massive skill. They've good delivery going in the box, so that's one threat. Like I said, I talked already that they're good in the counter attack, and I think they can get goals from anywhere. They're not frightened to let the ball go. Ryan Wade's somebody that, for me, should have had a better Irish League career. You managed him, certainly ability, David.
Ryan has got so much potential. I'm glad to see that things appear to be kicking on for him now at Loughgall, and sometimes you've just got to find the right place, which is the right fit. I've always been an admirer of Ryan's right from when he was here as a young boy.
Same as myself.
He had talent, he had ability, there's no doubt he's potential. He still has that potential, but I think it's a good fit now down from at Loughgall, and that potential is beginning to realise. And coming here today, he will naturally want to do very well. Make no mistakes, he's a blue man through and through, but he will want to come and do particularly well today. How
much of an impact will it be to Loughgall losing Benji McGee?
16 goals for a start. The reality is, Matthew, will testify to this. It's important that defensively you're sound, but you've got to score goals to win games. That's a big piece out of their armoury. But as Matthew's already alluded to, they have still got players there who are very, very capable, particularly Nathaniel Ferris, as you've pointed out. Jordan Gibson is another. So they have still that striking power. But with regards to Benji McGee, of course it'll be a loss. 16 goals speaks for itself.
I think in regards to Benji, he left. He didn't really score many Christmas onwards. Then I think they've been preparing for this move the whole summer. They brought Ryan in, they brought Jay Boyd in from Crusaders, right? What they will have now is probably a more balanced team, where Benji was individual goals, a lot of his, where I think, you've got, they'll probably be more structured, I would say. They will miss him, certainly, without a shadow of a doubt. They'll miss him because 16 goals. And the bottom end of the table, goals keep you up. Top end of the table, clean sheets win your leagues. There's no two ways about that, right? So you need goals at the bottom end, and then people think, well, do you mean you need goals both ends? But goals look after themselves if you're the top team. Clean sheets to win the league, goals to keep you up in the league.
Correct.
We'll now move on to the team news for today. I believe I'm just waiting for the graphic to come up on the screen. There's been no changes now to the starting 11 or to the bench, so it sort of tells it.
Well, it tells its own tale, sure, and the wonderful thing is that as a manager, you love consistency, and particularly when it comes to team selection, you know, and when your team is building up a momentum, so fantastic news. I've got to say, delighted that big Sam Roscoe is back at the club. I think his partnership with Scott Whiteside, who I think has been really impressive since he started, has been very good. But you know, David will be delighted that there's no injuries, there's no niggles, and he can just he can cut off the same 18 for today's fixture.
Sometimes I think the centre backs maybe go a wee bit underrated at times, or maybe under the radar. You had Scott yourself as a manager. Just what sort of impact do you think he's made here in the short time?
I think Scott has done tremendously well, which is no surprise. When he was at Ballymena and right at the top of the game, he was first on my team sheet. He then had a horrendous injury, and for nearly 2 years, you know, he had to fight desperately hard to get back. For me, you know, he's a young man who never lost sight of his dream, always wanted to be better in every aspect of his play. He got this, which I thought was a great move for both him and for Linfield, and his performances thus far have been most impressive. You know, as a defender, you know, at Ballymena, and I'm seeing the same traits now. He's horrible to play against, and that's the type of reputation you want as a defender, to be horrible to play against. And he and Sam Roscoe have been they've been very impressive thus far.
Matthew, looking at the Loughgall side there, who would you say is one to watch out for here, the fans to keep an eye on?
Well, one player we spoke about loads isn't even in the squad, Jordan Gibson. So it often goes, we didn't have obviously access to the team sheet, but Conor McDermott's come in there, you know, and I think this is a good move. Conor's had an unsettled time probably on and off the field, but good player, good right back. If I'm looking there, they're forward heavy. Pablo Andre, Brian Wade, Nathaniel Ferris, Andrew Hoey, all attacking players, and I think they'll be go and play, you know.
Maybe they'll be expansive here today and come and have a go.
Here, do you know what? I've tried it myself here. I was 5-0 down at half time, but I've also sat back and been 5-0 down in game. Oh no, look, do or die. Is Loughgall's season going to be made from what happens today? Certainly not, right? No. Now, let's be honest, will they come and go for it hell for leather from the first minute? Probably not. They'll probably sit in and try and make things difficult for 15, 20 minutes, as everybody does. Let's be honest, when we go away from home, as football managers, you always set your stall out. If you're away from home, listen, let's keep the crowd quiet. Let's make them frustrated.
Listen, we know the team talk that has been for years and years and years and years. Let's frustrate Linfield, whether it's home or away, but particularly home for the first 20 minutes. Then the supporters will get unsettled. Then the supporters will then get on the backs of the players. So that's the team talk. That's the attitude, you know, and that's just the way it is. There's no point saying otherwise. The reality is, if Linfield go out and start at a pace, you know what Joel scored in 2 minutes, or you have a blast of 3 goals in 8 minutes, you know. So for me, you know, Loughgall will come and do everything they can do to get the best out of today. Linfield have just got to keep doing what they're doing individually and collectively.
Last year the game seemed to be a lot tighter down at Loughgall. Then when they came here, Linfield ran out 5-1 winners.
The big pitch, isn't it? It's expansive, you know, and if they are, I'm looking and I'm struggling to see, because they've Conor McDermott to right back, Conor Kerr's a right back, Ben Harvey's a young fella, right? I would say Linfield, they'll go at them from minute one here and try and expose them, because if I'm looking in the middle of the pitch, they've only really... Andrew Hoey's at number 10. He's more of a striker, right, that plays in midfield, and looking to me, he's going to be having to take control of that midfield, possibly with one of the other that I've mentioned going in as a midfielder, maybe Conor McDermott or somebody, but it's going to be difficult. The message
from David will be exactly the same. Let's start at a pace. Yes. Let's get after them nice and early, and obviously if we don't score early, then we've got to be patient, but by making sure that we don't present them with any opportunities. That's the story of the game.
And finally, just before we finish, the predictions for this afternoon's game. David, I'll start with you.
I'm going to have a go at Matty Smith. He never put that in the running order, so we've got to do predictions.
Well, to be fair, right. Roy, the chairman, got it right last week and said 3-1.
He did.
Well, that was it. I'm going 4-1.
The Linfield, I assume?
No.
And Matthew.